hello, and fuck cape shit. Welcome to another episode of Shittywebcomics Weekly, brought to you by our Subscribe Star backers. Uh, Donate money, give us money.
Fuck you, pay me.
Fuck you, pay me. You get super secret, delightful, extra bonus videos, the fucking super mega deep lore of the shit that other people do not want you to hear and are willing to commit crimes. That's actually happened. People have actually committed crimes in an attempt to get us to stop doing videos because they don't like the truth, but we do. And speaking of which, we figured we would go way back, a little too far back, to Penny Arcade yet again, because I was going through some of the archives. We have like the old Shitty Webcomics archive, where they're just posts in general. Some of the previous episodes we've done were just reading through like ask blocks and fucking people being like, oh, why don't you like this anime, or what about this comic, or that, that kind of stuff.
So I can gently explain, fuck you, that's why.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
That's why. But there was always an aspect of Penny Arcade that I felt like nobody ever covered, but was blindingly obvious, and it was the whole concept, at least the concept, if not the outright fact that was unspoken by everyone except us, of Penny Arcade taking payoffs to make comics in ways that they didn't admit. Because there's other aspects where they just come out and admit it, and we'll be covering that. But there were a few comics in particular that I remember seeing when we started covering Penny Arcade on the original blog back in like 2013 that were obviously commercials for products that weren't even video games.
I remember first noticing it primarily because, we're fucking fans of some of these video games.
Well, yeah, the video games, it was obvious that they were, doing those on commission. And they would, we'll get into how they admitted that wasn't secret. And the thing is that if they come out and admit it, then you can't say that they're trying to cover it up. So it's maybe kind of sleazy, but at least they're being honest about it. There were times that they weren't honest about it, but we'll be going into that probably for the next several weeks, hopefully, because that means more free content for us. But just starting in sequence of things that I linked to myself in the notes and all that shit, is this comic from 2020, which, yet again, if you remember some of the previous things we had talked about, is how the art style is so drastically different that it's questionable that it's even being made by any of the original creators, who their credits are still on the comic, but that's really because they own it. It says copyright and their names, so they own the copyright. That just doesn't necessarily mean that they made the comic, but they can't admit that they're not making the comic. So who the fuck even knows? But the compositions are different. The models that are completely different. And again, this is from 2020, and we'll go into another comic from a few years before this, where it's yet again unrecognizable, completely off model. The chins, the foreheads, the faces, the profiles, none of them reflect. But there's also a weird sort of snaggletooth effect on fucking Pig-like's character, where, as we pointed out last time, the teeth started turning into like singular, creepy, curved bone blades in their mouths, which is
like a mono fang.
Yeah, almost sounds cool, but it just comes off as creepy and misshapen, because they're never drawn as separate teeth. It's just drawn
of Penny Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
They find a way to take something that sounds cool,
yes,
and ruin it.
Yeah, that's something that's been consistent of nerds and fans. There's I
They are
remember.
nerds. They're huge nerds, and they
Yes.
have shit taste too. That's a
Yeah.
very important
They
factor.
have dumb gay nerd taste. But I remember the whole idea of fans ruining things. I forgot what it was originally, but going way back to that one girl I knew from Canada who would say, about when nerds or fans would enjoy something that she enjoyed, but they would do it in such a faggy way that it would make it look bad. And it's like, no, I like this. Stop ruining things I like. And that's how she would put it. She would just say, stop ruining this thing that I like by liking it in such a gay way. Um, and that's the nature of fandom. And that's really what the Penny Arcade guys are. They're just nerd fans of nerdy, dumb fan shit.
For the sake of liking nerdy shit instead
Yeah.
of liking it for its merits.
Yeah, it's not like they're into something that would be underground because it has interesting aspects that other people don't consider. It's not like, oh, I really like Dune because it's about this and that. Like, SF Debris, I think, is a great example of somebody who actually appreciates the merit of something. Whereas the Penny Arcade guys are just guys who are like, oh, it's Star Wars, it has laser swords, they fight, and, just all this stupid shit. But also sort of that addiction to complaining, where again, I don't remember who it was that said that nerds are only capable of complaint and not critique, which means specifically critique as in the sense of being able to explain why something is bad, but also why something is good. Critique doesn't mean you're pointing out why something's bad all the time. It means you're analyzing, you're giving it a critical analysis of how something works and what's
A lot
good
of
and
people
bad
don't
about it.
understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people have no clue. They think that critique is complaining. That they think that critique is when you point out something that's bad and you say, "Oh, this is really sucks. It's bad. It's stupid." That none of that is even close to critique. People legitimately have no clue what critique means anymore.
I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, there's a lot of those fucking the whatever nostalgia critic fucking videos and
He
reviews and
actually,
stuff. A
yeah,
lot of those
he
people.
has some element of critique in some of his videos, interestingly enough. Whereas I've seen people, like the whole comics community, is like, oh, that guy's a really good critic. And it's like, all he does is just say that the comic he doesn't like is bad. Like, Linkara's not a critic, he's a complainer. He's not
Oh yeah,
capable of
fucking
critique.
Richard,
Yeah, and
fucking
Richard.
your
Yeah,
boy.
I've seen people say that Richard C. Meyer is a critic, and he's not. He's never criticized a comic. He has only complained about it or said that it's good. He never says why a good comic is supposed to be good. He just says, "Oh, this part's dope." He's trying to act like a
Yeah,
teenager too when he does
he
that.
can't think of a reason why. He's just not capable of it.
He can't understand normal thinking. Why can't he do that? How come? Why come he can't do that? Why come he don't got a tattoo?
Something with him, something with his brain that prevents him
Yeah,
from being
it's
able to understand normal
it's
thinking.
called being a big dummy. Anyways, so this comic that we've been just staring at, we haven't actually even been staring at it. It's just, from last year, 2020, Pig Like is saying, so Ubisoft had to change the name Gods and Monsters because Monster Energy didn't like it. This is ridiculous. Monster Energy isn't one of the first thousand things of when I hear monster. What is the first thing? Like all men of reason, a catapult. And it's like, fucking, did Monster Energy pay you for this, or did Ubisoft pay you for this? I don't really think either way, to be honest. But it
Maybe
just this
both,
comic
but
struck me
probably
just because
neither.
of how bizarre the art looks freakish, even if this actually is pig like, and he's still drawing the comic, and he's just freakishly altered his style this much to be this different. It's still talking heads. It's borderline unrecognizable, and you can tell it's just the same shapes. Like the hair is borderline copy paste.
I mean, yeah, again, one of the things that we will frequently say is that even bad art is not as important as a message. In this case, we gotta dump the message and focus on the art, and it is
Yeah,
ugly.
because this the message, the comic basically is just complaining about video game thing, and it's like, what about nerdy things, my fellow nerd? And it's just, yeah.
What about Monster Energy, which I like to drink while playing video games?
Have
Ugh.
you heard about this Ubisoft game? No, I don't care. Like, I don't think even fans of video games don't fucking focus. Like, Gods and Monsters, it got renamed to Immortals Phoenix Rising. It's like, I've never heard of any of this shit. Were people anticipating this game or something? I kind of doubt it. The thing is, they have taken money to mention other comics or other video games in their comics. In fact, one of like a few weeks ago, we did that comic. We did a video about that comic where it was SimCity 4, some shit like that, where
Yeah.
the game wasn't loading for anyone. It was just a fucking disaster. And Penny Arcade's comic about it was just like, check out how detailed fucking SimCity 4 is. And it looked like damage control and it looked like fucking product placement.
It was like the same day, though.
Yeah,
Or it was like,
or at least
it
a
was
day
soon
later.
enough.
Yeah,
It's the worst of all worlds. It was soon enough they could have made a comic about this fucking controversy,
and they clearly didn't.
it
And
was also late enough.
in fact, well, we went over the time stamps of it then because I already forget about it. I forget when the time was, but I think
No,
like
it doesn't matter.
the next comic after it was just about Tetris. It was about some new Tetris game, and it was like, okay, gee, wow, you fucking really got the thumb on the pulse. And it goes to show, Penny Arcade wasn't about like speaking truth to power or any of that gay shit. But they weren't about like holding game companies responsible for what
It's
they
not
were
even
saying.
about having an honest opinion, though. I mean, you don't have to do that. You don't have to make your fucking stupid ass little gag a day webcomic about like we're going to be speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
Just fucking have a real, genuine opinion. They don't have that either.
Yeah, just have an opinion. Here's a fucking idea. Have a point. It makes things so much more interesting for the listener. Anyways, going now to the next comic. This one's from 2014, and you can see again the style doesn't even come close to matching. In fact, in this first panel, he looks like some kind of almost punk rocker kid. The hairstyle, you could tell, is based off of an original template, but it doesn't match the 2020 version, and then, as you'll see, it doesn't match any of the other versions from previous years either. The style was changing so drastically. It really points to having ghost artists. That is just speculation on our parts. That's conspiracy theory on our parts. I can't confirm that. It's just weirdly suspicious. What is also suspicious is the size of his creepy buck teeth blade keeps changing this. You know what? Let me zoom in this just so you can see it slightly better, I guess. But yeah, in the first panel, the teeth are smaller. In the second panel, the teeth get bigger. And it's just one connected blade that goes all the way to his ear. The back of his teeth is inside of his ear, which his ear's basically on his neck. It's also strange. It's all very strange. And very pig-like upturned nose. That was just really bothering me. And of course, massive, debilitating tumbler nose on lovely wifey, which I always thought was funny. They drew themselves as fucking not looking, like fat, bald nerds or whatever. Their wives, though, get it even better. That was something we didn't point out about the last one. Did we even talk? Yeah, we talked about that one comic with the with Tomb Raider. That was a couple weeks ago. Yeah. On the show, anyways, a couple weeks ago. We may have recorded it months ago, but anyways. It was funny because they, of course, draw Lara Croft kind of generic. They try not to make her hot because the wives would probably, their fat and psychopathic wives would thrash them to within inches of their lives if they dared to draw Lara Croft as too attractive in their own comic. But anyways, yeah, in this comic, this one mentions all the N-key drive stuff we got for the boys is starting to show up. It's pretty complicated. I should open it up. No, I just thought of something amazing. When the boys come downstairs, wouldn't it be great if all the N-key drive stuff set up was set up ready to... No, can I just open this shit and play with it? No. What the fuck is N-key drive? I have a feeling it's something... That's funny, the comic's named Due Diligence, but the it should have been called fucking Full Disclosure. Or perhaps even just Disclosure, which is a book and a movie that featured VR with rolling ball platforms that you walk along. Anyone remember that part, or do they just remember the part where fucking...
That was in the movie.
Yeah, it was in the movie. They kept it in the movie. That was pure fucking Michael Crichton, too, by the way.
That was really enjoyable, though. It was an enjoyable part of the story.
You know, it was also interesting is that it acknowledges, like, somebody testing it got motion sickness and vomited onto the balls, so they had to pull all the balls out of the system. This is in the book of fucking... I remember this from the book of fucking Disclosure. That and the part where he describes how he's finally fucking her and she was dry. And I was like... What's that mean? Because I was 12 when I read this.
I'm 12 and what is this?
I'm 12, what is... Literally. I may have been 13 at the time. I don't remember. Fuck. But that's certainly more interesting than Penny Arcade. I mean, hey, we're going to talk about whatever the fuck we want. If you're like, ew, why aren't you guys talking about Penny Arcade? Fuck you. Suck my dick, bitch.
I don't suck my dick, bitch. Fuck you. I don't want to talk about Penny. I don't want to think about Penny Arcade.
Penny Arcade? Ugh. But anyways. Ew. But the... Yeah, in Disclosure, I just felt like mentioning that. Anki Drive, is that what that is? I don't know. Am I going to go to the blog post? Here's a question mark. Oh, that just says random. They used to have a button that would take you to the attached blog post of the fucking things. And I scroll down, it's not here. Show comments? Is there a comments for this fucking... Is it a comments section? Yes, it is. 27 comments. November 2015. Somebody fucking left a comment on this a year afterwards. Just fucking... What the fuck? So yeah, oh wait, here it is. Text next to the fucking thing. Anki Drive. I have no idea what it is, what it's supposed to be, why they're talking about it. They do a comic about it. See, they have a history of that. In fact, I think that's in the next one. Yeah, here it is. Yet again, 2008. Do you remember the character? Because every fucking webcomic had to have the funny robot character. It's like, oh, aren't funny robot characters cute? It's like having a talking cat. That was another thing. They would have a talking cat or a talking dog in webcomics because it was made to basically pander to nerds and girls. But they had Divx, the talking Divx player. Now, if you don't remember, Divx was a file format. These days, they're just FLVs or MP4s. But Divx was like the early version of an MP4 that was like, it's smaller but better quality. And it was like fucking... I guess it was successful enough as a file format to...
I remember the name.
To briefly get some kind of attempt. Yeah, I don't even remember it exists until I see these weird Penny Arcade comics that were about it, where they have Divx the Divx player. And I was like, there was a Divx player, and it's like, not really, but Penny Arcade did a comic. But you could tell it was from so far back where Divx the Divx player was like, wisecracking, shit-talking, he's fucking an asshole to them. So it wasn't it most likely was not product placement because it goes so far back before they were really successful in getting companies to pay them to make comics, and we're about to get into that too, even in this episode. So that should be good.
Could be good.
But yeah, that's another thing about nerd culture that I just fucking find so annoying and gay is every time there was even the slightest trend, like whatever the previous comic that I just closed was about Anki Drive, I almost was finished forgetting entirely what it was called, and within an hour I won't even remember that it had a name. Anki Drive. What? Is it like a Lego set? Is it a fucking TV? Is it some kind of game system? It's something you construct, I guess. Is it like a model set, maybe? I have no idea. And I don't think I will ever know, because it was from 2014, and who the fuck remembers it? Just like the DivX player, which they only brought back. Like, in 2008, the DivX player was not a thing anymore for years. In fact, this is what this comic is about, where DivX comes up and says, "What the fuck is this?" And Pig-like goes, "Oh, nothing, just a little thing called the future." Which, the point of this comic, it's like, it better be about making fun of how these nerds get obsessed about every little fucking flash on the pan piece of technology that clearly is irrelevant. Like, I remember the fucking, the Segway was being hyped for a year in advance as just being called it, and they were saying this is going to revolutionize travel, and they actually said people will be building cities around this. And then the creator of it drove off a fucking cliff a few years later, fucking on the Segway, and died. But anyway, so yeah, it's this
great, but it's hilarious. It's a hilarious way to die, but also at the same time, I do resent being told that it's kind of like that fucking. There's that South Park episode about the fucking whatever.
That one was more relevant because that's what it was supposed to be based off of. It was the It, because they called it It in that, and it's almost like they were speculating on what it was going to be. It was before it was revealed as a Segway, and so it was like a weird gyroscope ball that you would get in, and it would fucking make you suck a dildo while another one went in your ass. And the fucking punchline to that, which is still funny, is, well, it's better than dealing with the airlines.
And that was the thing in particular, is like fucking the entire start of the episode is like trying to fucking get on an airline so he can make it to the Jizz Fest in time.
The Jizz Fest. Anyways.
He fucking goes and fucking he's like, "Fuck you! I got a degree in mechanical engineering. We're gonna fucking make something to put you out of business." And he does that, and then the government comes along. It's like fucking. It's something that I'm sure happened in real life.
Yeah, just bailed out the airlines, which that happened in real life. Not only in real life, but it happened afterward. The airlines got bailed out. I think fucking like a few years ago, even. Or was it even last year? I don't fucking remember.
Well, more than once, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which is bizarre because it implies that airlines don't even make money to make a profit. They just have to survive off of fucking government handouts.
That's the way most big businesses work nowadays.
Which is creepy and sad. But anyways, here's the thing that's actually is really going to cook your noodle. This is going to be really funny. Is that the Pig-like raving about this box that's the future. It says, amongst other things, Apple TV will allow us to rent movies via, that is to say, from the internet, and watch the film within 24 hours of the. And then DivX is like, didn't someone cook that shit up 9 years ago? Yeah, it was called DivX. And fucking Pig-like says, we're watching Ratatouille and we need to finish it within the next 23 hours. The funny thing is, Apple TV actually still is a thing. But it's like fucking... it's also basically how most movie rentals are done now if you don't use Netflix, is that... I mean, there was always on-demand. On-demand existed before this. This was 2008. There was on-demand. Most cable services would give you a fucking either a box or a remote that would just go to the on-demand channel and be like, here's a fucking movie you can rent. Basically, it was like pay-per-view. That's what pay-per-view is. That's what pay-per-view has been since the 1990s also, is you pay for access to a channel that's going to run this thing. So you pay the money and then you watch it. And they would do their best to prevent you from just straight up recording it onto a fucking VHS or something. But aside from that, if you fucking rented it, you would watch it. You would have access to it for a while. Like on YouTube right now, that's how it works, is that you fucking rent a movie. I actually rent movies on YouTube somewhat frequently, which I'm not exactly proud of.
That's the thing is, like, with your options otherwise are Redbox and the fucking
Redbox was extremely limited choice, and then Netflix, which the online streaming is pretty much all anyone considers anymore. But that has kind of limited choice if you want to watch literally everything that you could ever watch. Like I rented Good Time off of YouTube, and it was really good. 310 to Yuma, we rented that a few days ago, and watched that. That was really good.
that's an old movie, and yeah, I fucking saw it for the first time in a while.
Well, it's a remake of an even older movie. We rented the remake because heard it was good, and it was. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Spoilers. But I rented that over YouTube also. And I noticed also in the past couple of months, YouTube just started doing a thing where it just blacks out the screen if I'm watching it over Steam Link. And it's doing that because it thinks I'm trying to pirate it. And at the same time, if I try to, say, record it on OBS, it blacks out the OBS screen. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it. You don't want me to fucking record these movies. Even though fucking Steam Link isn't pirating it, but clearly they're detecting, oh, you're streaming this video. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to watch it on the TV, so I have to go on the dumb gay switch. Nintendo, the gayest company. I mean, consoles, pretty gay anyways. Who needs a console? I have a PC. I have a mid-range PC. It's better than any console that's going to be made for the next 10 years. But anyways, especially because it's got backwards compatibility. Whoa.
It's got motion controllers.
Yes, wipe. Anyways, yeah, here's the thing is that Penny Arcade this comic is making fun of people who fawn over Apple TV. It's funny how backwards everything is. Apple TV actually has been around to stay when they make fun of it. The stuff they fawn over disappears within a month or two.
This still seems like a fucking advertisement for Apple TV, though.
Well, you know, it's a fucking even better Apple advertisement for Apple TV. It's like, yeah. I like getting fucked. I like getting my ass. Almost said it. I like getting my bottom freaked while I watch Apple TV. Like the southern guy who comes in is like, I'm from Pennsylvania.
Sounds like the fucking guy from Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, where I come from, all people who love Apple TV are gay. It doesn't make sense for the character if I'm doing it. You said have fun with the read. Okay, from now on, just what's on the script. Just what's on the paper, everybody. It's like people just coming in and being like, I like to get my ass fucked while watching Apple TV. It's like, did you get the notes from the last person? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Just fuck. It's a Cumtown bit about people doing the commercials for Apple TV, and all of them are gay. All of them are gay, and all of them are constantly talking about getting fucked in their ass. Constantly. And how it relates to Apple TV. But that's a better advertisement for Apple TV than this comic, of course. But to wrap up this one episode, and this will go into the next one as well, here is I can zoom this in too, actually. This should be a little better if I zoom in. Here's on Plebit, an AMA with Robert Kahoo, the guy that runs the business side of Penny Arcades. After Jerry, aka Tycho, posted this earlier today, I got a few requests for an AMA, so hi, you can read a lot of basic stuff about me here, but if there's anything specific about the inner workings of PA I can answer, I'll try to answer as best as I can. Verification, and then afterwards, alright, this is a good show, everyone. But it's funny, it says 10 years ago, so this was fucking at least 2011. So this was before we even started covering Penny Arcade. In fact, I think it was before we even registered the original blog. But it was still after I was like, Penny Arcade, But
Penny Arcade's been kind of fucking annoying for a long time.
Penny Arcade, it clearly sold out around this time, around definitely before 2010. Here, actually, this says created May 27th, 2009. I think that's just the IAMA sub. It was just created then. And so this says 10 years ago, December 30th, 2011. So actually, this was after we registered Shittywebcomics. But, yeah, they had this guy turning Penny Arcade into a brand. And this is, about the time he mentions, thanks for rating Penny Arcade, going to PAX, blah, blah, supporting Child's Play. So the whole thing had turned into a brand and had this guy doing it. It wasn't just the Penny Arcade guys were like, oh, we need to... This guy had showed up and been like, hey, I can get you hooked up with a lot more money and business shit. And but the thing I really want to focus on was the top post here. Not even necessarily the top voted ones. It's just the one at the top. Sort by best, though. But I thought this was really interesting. A guy asks, what revenue streams have you turned down for PA and why? And he replies saying, dating site integration, which really goes to show is like they were like beneath the bottom of the barrel was just about the only thing they were avoiding, because they tried doing a reality show. I remember they did a reality show that was like, people will be competing to become interns at the Penny Arcade company, essentially. And what they would do is art duties, actually. They showed, is like, hey, okay, show us how much you can draw. And it's fucking like, they would have girls who would be like drawing Penny Arcade art or comics for them. And that's where I really grew suspicious that the massive shifts in art style that followed that were kind of a result of them taking on these people who would clearly just take fucking, take on the art duties for peanuts. Theoretically, I still don't have proof of that, but the thing is that nobody's ever dug into it. All that's happened is that Penny Arcade fans have just said, no, it's not true because I don't want it to be true. And that is literally their entire argument, is that they reject it because they just don't want to even think about it. Which is very common. Of things that we even ask the questions of or speculate on, people will dismiss it out of hand without even thinking about the possibility. They won't prove that it's wrong. They'll just dismiss it, which in a way goes towards further proving that it could be true. Like if you know anything about how the entire universe works, is that when you see somebody deny something out of hand that could be true, but they don't want it to be true, a lot of the times it turns out to be true. Not every time, but a lot of the times. And it's actually a good barometer. It's one of the secrets we just let you in on. It's a good way to find out if something actually is happening behind the scenes. Is if somebody just straight up denies it sight unseen, it could it could just straight up be true. And you could be safe to assume it's true, especially if they can't prove it wrong. Then it's better to just troll the other people by saying, yeah, you know what, it's true then. But here, though, the really interesting part is he says stuff he turned down for Penny Arcade. And again, this isn't Pig or Bald. This is Robert Kahoo, just a guy who is handling the business side of the webcomic. He is turning stuff down for them. dating site integration, which again, my point of that was that they were clearly saying yes to a lot of things if this is what they were saying no to. But he says ads embedded in the text of the news posts, which is questionable because a lot of their news posts would link to things that were products that they were talking up in the comic. But he says here, though, product placement in the comic, which in a way back then was false. They did have product placement, not in the main comic necessarily. But again, this is 10 years ago, and we're about to be getting into this probably in the next part. But they did do comics that straight up had product placement after this, and again, that's what the next part will be. But he said site takeovers, think McDonald's, IGN, and he says all sorts of stupid shit, which is kind of just at that point a little dismissive and vague. But I mean, it's also probably true. I'm not saying that this guy's lying, but I'm saying that it can be a little evasive. And what we'll really cover in the next part here is PA Presents. They have an entire section of the Penny Arcade site, and they still do, where it says right at the top, occasionally game companies will come to us and ask for something more than just standard ads. They tend to end up being comic book style projects of varying length, and here's an example of some of the many, many ones they did from, and just skimming over this, Assassin's Creed, various games. Brothers in Arms, that was the one you were talking about, where it was like, it sort of zooms down from above, and it turns into like a first-person shooter strategy game. That was the one by Gearbox that you and I were talking about in private before. But the dates on these, when these were made: 2007, 2011, 2004, 2004, 2006, 2010, 2010, 2005, 2005, 2011, 2006, 2012. So when Robert Cahu says ads embedded in the text of news posts and product placement in the comic were being rejected, he means in the main comic, the main Penny Arcade, whereas these were side things. But as they admit here, game companies will come to us and ask for something more than just standard ads, which means these are advertisements, but they aren't meant to just be a banner. They're meant to be
viral marketing.
Yeah, an attempt at some kind of viral marketing. And in fact, that's what gets mentioned here after Jerry, aka Tycho, posted this earlier, and this is a link to a Penny Arcade Kahoot viral, tracking a viral story in real time. It was no big secret that our web servers were struggling a bit after the Ocean marketing post was made. We did our best to keep them, blah, blah, and it's like a graph of like, oh, here's all the traffic they got, and over Reddit rank, and this and that. And it's like, oh, check out how we can measure the traffic bumps and stuff. And in a way, this is part of how they try to measure the value of their advertising rates, and how much they can charge people who advertise with them, either the sponsors or the companies that handle the sponsorships. So this here shows that they were definitely taking money from game companies to not just talk up, in fact, not specifically talk up their video games, but to make comics about their video games, which is more than just talking it up. It's more than just endorsing it with your words. It's about showing how, like, it makes it look like we like this game so much, we wanted to tell a story about the game. But we'll get into that next time, among other things. In fact, it won't be just about this, but it will be about then subverting what they said, and kind of contradicting the other claim about having commercials in the comics. We will be looking at some of their comics that did actually have commercials in it.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that viral marketing, I remember that was a big accusation, I think, on TV. Anytime anyone wanted to talk about a TV or movie, immediately the first reply would be viral marketer.
Yeah, it's like...
Well, a lot of video game webcomics basically could have easily read like that.
Yeah, and they could have just done that. And many video game webcomics could have just taken money to make comics about the video games that they were taking money for.
I
That
wouldn't even necessarily blamed a lot of them, but
Yeah,
also
well, especially in this case, if they were just coming out and admitting it, which if they're saying, "Hey, these are advertisements," then at least they're not trying to pull one over on you. But the thing is, that's why they have to admit it, because when they don't admit it, it is it's product placement that they're not admitting to, and that's what really I wanted to cover was the times that Penny Arcade did product placement without admitting it, and we'll
I'm
probably
wondering how long have we gone on? Because
it's 40 minutes, so yeah, we'll get to that in the next part. So
right.
unlike share, recomment, whatever, and should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.